So excited to celebrate the wonderful Ellen Gannett. Believe me when I tell you it was almost impossible to find just three people who would speak to Ellen's legacy and what she's done. But I think we have brought together people who can speak to the breadth of her amazing and impressive career. So first up, I would like to welcome Diane Jenko. Diane is the Executive Director of our state affiliate in New Jersey, and she's going to give a few words of remarks. So come on up, Diane.
This was a very hard thing to keep short, but a tribute to Ellen Gannett. I first met Ellen Gannett in 1974 in a graduate school class on child care administration at Lesley University in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I was taught by Gwen Morgan. We were both graduate students, the only students in that class working with kids over the age of 5. School-age childcare was definitely not on anyone's radar in that class, with the exception of Ellen and myself. We, however, never spoke to each other. She sat over there with Roger Nagelbauer, smoozing. I was over there shy, retiring. In 1981, we reconnected with Ellen when she joined Mickey Sellingson, and Mickey's here. Where is our fearless leader? Yes. Mickey was writing the Red Bible. We call it the Red Book, the Red Bible, and that was the guide, that Bible we needed about school-age childcare. And Ellen joined the Center for Research on Women at Wellesley College at the School-Age Childcare Project. Guess what? Childcare is a women's issue. Suddenly, the world was learning that after-school programs exist, and guess what? After-school programs were needed. There is indeed a space for children when they leave the early childhood world and enter elementary school, and then they needed a place after school. Who knew that? Ellen did. Ellen knew as an early leader that there was a space for after school. She continues to be a leader. There was no guidance or literature in the realm of after school in the early 80s. Ellen actually had her training before it was after college you went to Merrill Palmer? I was trying to figure that out. When did you go to?
Last year of college.
The last year of college, and I was totally envious because Merrill Palmer Institute to me was like the mecca of anyone that really wanted to work with families. And their main focus, though, was yet on early childhood education. Ellen embraced that knowledge and skill set she acquired from Merrill Palmer on promoting the development, health, and well-being of children and youth and their families across their lifespan through research, training, and outreach. Ellen, you may know, is always right. And a famous Ellen Gannett expression is, "I know I'm right." She blended her knowledge and personal childhood experiences to design what a quality after-school program should be, working with the team at the School-Age Childcare Project. And do you recall that how many of you ever went to a NIOST training? All right, the vision exercise, which was Ellen's baby. Who were you with? Where did you go? What did you do in after school? Because Ellen really believes that who you are really shapes where you go in the future in after school. And even though Bertha is not here tonight, Ellen's mom, who I was hoping to meet her, I've heard about her for many years, I really believe that her mom is who gave Ellen that strong foundation for what is right and good for kids. Bertha seems, for what I've heard about her for all these years, was someone who was tireless and always had a smile and a laugh, but cared for kids and cares for her granddaughters with a passion, her own daughters. In the late 80s, I was privileged to be tapped to be one of Ellen's angels. We were the national training team at NIOST. We followed Ellen's leadership and trained the emerging leaders in after school in all of 50 states. And I look at you now and I see like Karen Hosfaletta and oh my gosh, I mean like people from all of the United States in this room, and you were part of those NIOST institutes. Now, a little diversion here, just to give you an idea of how we really trusted Ellen and believed in her leadership. At one time, we were at a retreat in Kiowa in a resort, and we decided to go for a walk at night to look for alligators. And I think that was your idea. And we walked across a golf course where there were alligators, and a thunder and lightning storm came up. And golf courses are not where you want to be in a thunder and lightning storm, especially when there are alligators in the lagoons. But Ellen was right. She knew where we were going, and in 1 hour, we found our way back, and we all followed her, even though we knew she had no idea where she was going. And the lightning was moving around, and tails were thrashing under palm fronds, but we followed you, didn't we? And you had no idea where you were. But right there, we were there. So Ellen was in the forefront in developing the field that we all share and love. Ellen is truly a leader. And in the words of one of my favorite writers on leadership, Howard Haas, leaders have the authority of knowledge. That's Ellen. Leaders are visionaries. They produce change. They give their all. They're good listeners. They're good communicators. They're lifelong learners. They're risk takers. They're ethical. And they are optimists. So thank you, Ellen, for helping to grow me. And I extend thanks from the rest of all those angels. I have cards and letters from them. And I'd like to say a special, we're missing two, Betty Gehring and Mark Robinson, who passed away several years ago. But we love you. So I bow to you, Ellen Gannett, and I thank you, a mighty woman, a daughter, a wife, a mother, a sister, and I'm proud to say you're my friend.
I'll just note that when she said 1974, it was like, it was all the next gens. Yes, we've been doing this, Ellen. You've been right for a long time. And one day, everyone else is going to figure it out, I promise. So next, I'd like to welcome to the stage Georgia Hall. Georgia, Ellen's colleague, and trying to fill the very, very large shoes that Ellen left behind at NIOST. And thank you, Georgia.
I'm a size 10, so. Good evening to all of you, leaders and Gannett family and friends, etc. You know, we mostly don't speak the word that begins with the letter R in our office. R being the first letter of the word when we must speak of it, we use a small r, suggesting that the retirement pathway can be implemented in smaller and more time-sensitive ways. For after all, there is always work to be done. And the foundational thinking that Ellen has largely inspired in the field for the last 40 years, particularly around the topic of out-of-school time workforce, is still a timely and very dynamic discussion today. I interviewed Ellen back in the fall as we published our fall 2018 journal, and I asked her what elements of her work at NIOST over the last 40 years were some of the most significant and meaningful to her. And she enthusiastically responded that anything to do with professional development has been her first love. And David, just so you know, she mentioned you too. But working to set up statewide and national credentials for OST and youth development providers, professionalizing their work, creating a sustainable system for educating and training providers at the college level, all of these things, all of these tasks have been part of the lifelong career resume in the OST field that Ellen has forged. If you've seen Ellen at work, you must know that she keeps track of her calendar and work in a small notebook. And considering 40 years, that's a lot of small notebooks. And I like to refer to it as a small notebook with big ideas. It has been crucial for NIOST and for the OST field that Ellen has been a courageous thinker of bigger ideas, and has passed them forward in ways that have greatly benefited the children, the youth, and the adults spending time and careers in the OST field. Ellen's work at NIOST has had a monumental influence on the after-school program field, working with partners to measure program quality, to assess the effectiveness of policies and professional development, to benchmark against best practice, to create and establish standards for program quality and staffing credentials, and to inform the greater field. I grabbed one of the many older notebooks on Ellen's shelf in her office last week, and opening randomly, yeah, there's a little note in here that says, "Take group on alligator walk." But opening one of these books randomly, from many years ago, I see that Ellen has written the words, "Role of OST, become a provider of supports." And then there's a long list, and it says, what's necessary? Training, program improvement and assessment, workforce development, healthy OST, Daniel, 30 years ago, healthy OST, research and evaluation, strategic planning, and consultation. So it was all here. So we thank you, Ellen, for these big ideas 40 years ago. And on behalf of my colleagues at NIOST and the Wellesley Centers for Women at Wellesley College, we congratulate you and your family on this award, and we thank you for your dedicated and lifelong service to ensuring high-quality out-of-school time experience for the children, for the youth, and the OST workers of this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia. And certainly last but not least, we are so thrilled to have with us this evening Lena Townsend, and so many of us have been beneficiaries of the wonderful work that Lena did through the Robert Bound Foundation, and so we were thrilled to have her with us tonight. The work that the Bound Foundation did to support After School Matters, to really, that I can say as a grantee of the foundation, a foundation that invested in the work that needed to be done. And so Lena, we're thrilled to have you here with us this evening.
Hi, everybody. I can't imagine anyone more deserving of being honored by the National After-School Association than Ellen Gannett. Ellen and I met sometime in the mid-1990s when she and her colleagues were beginning to explore the potential role of literacy in what were then called school-age child care programs. We did I remember we did a workshop, and we were trying to help them understand that literacy, isn't integrated easily, and it's not, and I'm not sure they got that, but to give her great credit, Ellen recognized that integrating literacy into school-age child care programs was not a simple feat. Our real relationship began when she brought her staff to the Institute for Literacy Studies, where I worked, and we spent 2 intensive days discussing literacy and learning from the staff of programs that I worked with. In 2002, I moved on from the Institute to the Bound Foundation in 2000. So in 2002, the Robert Bound Foundation began the development of the After School Matters initiative, which consisted of several components. After School Matters, a journal, I hope you know it. The Practitioner Fellowship Program, I know some of you are here, so I know you know that, which is an inquiry-based professional development opportunity for practitioners working in the out-of-school time field, and the National Edmund A. Stanley Jr. Research Grants. In 2005, we decided that the After School Matters initiative should be piloted by an organization that could take it national. We don't mean pilot like try out, I mean pilot like, you know, take the plane there. And so we wanted an organization that would take it national and build upon the work that we've done in New York City. NIOST was the only organization that fit our criteria. On a May morning in 2005, Ellen and I invited Ellen for breakfast. I was in Cambridge, and I invited Ellen for breakfast, and I intended to pay for it. I did, after all, work for a foundation. However, I was staying at the Hampton Inn, and she met me there and insisted that we have the free breakfast. I could never, ever say that Ellen squandered our money. And I proposed that NIOST, under her leadership, take on After School Matters and nurture it on through its adulthood. In 2008, the foundation awarded a 5-year grant to NIOST to continue the project for 5 years. It's now 11 years later, and the project is flourishing. On the ground staff, the people on the ground staff, people who are the most knowledgeable about after school are doing and sharing original research on the topics that are most important to them and to the field. Professional development, social justice, and engagement are in publications like the Detroit News, Practice Learning, and Youth Today, and of course, After School Matters. This is exactly what the board and staff of the Robert Bound Foundation dreamed of when we initiated After School Matters, and thanks to Ellen Gannett's leadership, our dream is a reality. Thank you, Ellen.
There's absolutely nothing I can add to any of those wonderful comments except to say, on behalf of the Board of Directors of the National After School Association and our 26,000 members around this country, we can think of no one better to honor than you, Ellen Gannett.
What a night, oh my gosh. Well, it was perfect that you put Diane up because I stopped crying. And I'm composed now, and I just want to let everyone know how thrilled I am about this evening. It's incredibly special. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Lena. Thank you, Georgia. Thank you, Gina, Heidi, Board of Directors.
And this is a very special treat for me to be here among so many leaders and people I've known for so long. I couldn't ask for a better evening to celebrate this honor. So a lot of the story that you've already heard from Diane and Georgia and Lena is the story of my life in after school, really. I date back to 1974 as a practitioner, and I was a director teacher of an after school program, and it was parent run, and it was one of many programs in the Boston area that I think really started a movement in Massachusetts and in Boston about the importance of not only caring for our young people, but also providing a service, a caring service for families and mothers and fathers and other guardians of our young children. And it was a time when really there was scant research available, there was very little going on in terms of, it was before NSACA, it was before NAA, and we were still talking about the latchkey kids. Remember that? Where kids would have to go home to empty houses, or they would have to go home and take care of their younger siblings. And missed opportunities were huge. And so we felt deeply about doing something in our communities that would help to provide opportunities for young people. Well, it was about this time, sometime in around 1978, I don't know. Vicki, you'll have to help me with the dates, but I think it was 1978, where I first met Michelle Seligson, and she discovered me. Really, I have to give her credit. She did discover me in a living room in the suburb of Massachusetts, and the rest is history, really. I mean, it was a time in which I had just had my first daughter, Emily, and I was ready to make a shift from direct service to research and action. She invited me into the Wellesley Centers for Women. At that time it was, the Wellesley Centers for Women. And she said, I have a 6-month job for you. And this is true. And that's all I can guarantee. And so look at me now, you know? we were groomed to know that we were operating on soft money. And we could never guarantee the next year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years. And so we were grateful and worked really hard to keep raising money. And so 6 months become a year, and a year became another year, and so on and so forth. And now we are here, 40 years later. There's so many people that I want to thank as I look back. Another founder of the School Age Child Care Project, Andy Genzer, James Levine, who helped Nikki in their work together to get the project going. I didn't actually help to write the Red Book, the School Age Child Care Action Manual, but if you look closely, if anybody has a copy, I'm mentioned as a reviewer. And I'm proud to be there in the back cover. It was, you know, so much happened with so little in those days. We didn't need a whole lot of money. A seeded project from the Ford Foundation, from the Carnegie Corporation, from the Levi Strauss Foundation, helped us get going with core money that allowed us to do some early research. And we were grounded in the work that Mickey had done in Brookline, Massachusetts, in which parents were the center of the work, and where we were really thinking about the whole family. And it was also about that time where I, as Diane so fondly calls us, the angels, the training angels. Well, those training angels are still dear friends right now, and I got a little sad to think that some of them are not with us anymore. But Diane joined the angels, so does Liz Joy, Ellen Klippenberger. Some of these people are really well known in the NAA world as early founders of this organization. Liz Joy, Ellen Klippenberger, Tracy Dallas, Molly McNally Dunn, Martha Kroll, Anna De Hoyos O'Connor from San Antonio, and of course Susan O'Connor, who we continue to work with really closely, and she's done some outstanding work with us and couldn't be here tonight. So all of these people have worked with us for more than 40 years, and I'm grateful for that partnership. So back at, well, now fast forward to the 80s and the 90s, and we did a whole lot of work in those days. We incubated the what is now NAA. Linda Sisson sat in our offices at Wellesley College and got the whole thing started. We helped to establish the national accreditation system, the NAA quality standards that of course we gifted to NAA. We did the first national supply and demand study with Mathematica. We did a public school study with NAESP, the National Association of Elementary School Principals. Really some significant stuff here. And then we started the first citywide system building initiative that Mickey cooked up in her brilliant mind, called the Making the Most of Out of School Time, MOST, the MOST initiative. And I think I have friends here. Jackie, where are you? From Seattle. We have the Chicago people. We have the Boston people. Those three cities were really the pioneers in the system building work. And I really am so grateful that Jane is here because she believed in, Jane Quinn is here because she believed in that work and supported us through the Wallace Foundation. Without your support and your enthusiasm. So we were really grateful to the DeWitt Wallace Reader's Digest Fund to make that happen, and now called the Wallace Foundation, of course. So there's so much more I could say. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, but today I stand on the shoulders of countless leaders in the field who came before me. I stand here with next-gen leaders who will come after me, and I'm just so happy to be here partnering with all of you as we've blazed the trail for where we are. It was a terrific ride, and I'm really happy to be trying to document it now. So let me fast forward to Emily. When she found out that I was doing this speech, she said, well, make sure you remember to talk about the fact that Emily, my daughter Emily, wait, my daughter Erica, were my guinea pigs. And I said, what do you mean? Guinea pigs. And that's how they felt. Because I helped to start the Needham Extended Day Program, which was a parent-run program in our community. It's a suburb of the Boston area. And they were already in middle school, and they did not want to go. It was a program for elementary school kids. And they said they wouldn't go. And I said, well, what will it take? So what will it take? Well, it took a wall. We had to build a dividing wall between the little kids and the big kids. And they had to have a couch, and they had to have, comfortable spaces, and they had to have a completely different curriculum. Thus, the beginning of the middle school movement. Yes, having your daughters as an experiment is always interesting. And, the whole idea of middle school programming and constructive activities for older kids, I think, was born and I thank you for making that happen. So, joking aside, I do want to point out that they were part of a real sea change that I am so proud of being part of. Because, in fact, I was on the road a lot. And I was traveling in some cases twice a month, maybe more, conducting leadership institutes across the country, helping some programs get started in their networks and their statewide affiliates, Colorado, Kentucky, some of the very first affiliates that ever emerged across the country, and we were there helping them get started. So luckily I had an amazing support system. And of course it starts with David, who was an amazing partner. But I also want to point out that David did need his own support system. So that's where my mom and dad came in. And that's where Grandma Bertha really made all the difference. Now, I want you to know a little bit about Grandma Bertha. She is 95 years old. And here's my role model. If you want to know why I have, Liz Joy calls me the Energizer Bunny. I just don't stop. Well, why? Because my mom, 95 years old, just retired. I'm not kidding. She was an antique dealer for somewhat of between 50 and 60 years of her life. She ran a retail store in Newton, Massachusetts, and just this past fall decided to close the store. How about that? My sister has a picture of Grandma Bertha, so after I get off the stage, you can hover around and you can give homage to this amazing woman, because she helped with all the carpools and loads of laundry and the meals, and yet she was working. She was still a working mother herself. So let's give a toast to Grandma Bertha. Just so you know, I did buy her a ticket for this event, and she really wanted to come. But unfortunately, she didn't feel up to it. She has a cough that's been lasting a month, which I think is going around. So now, let me just give a toast to the class, the 2019 class of Next Gen leaders. It's a personal thrill for me to pass the torch of leadership to this talented and committed group of individuals. And when I think about over the past 3 decades, we've made tremendous progress in professionalizing the field, but there is much to do. And so I hope that you'll join me in working on this wonderful profession, this great field that we're all in, because much work is left to be done. Congratulations. So after so many years as being a practitioner, a researcher, a trainer, an advocate, I think I can claim the distinctive title of being a lifer. Sometimes, however, I feel like I'm a dinosaur. I'm just old enough to have seen it all, and then now seeing it again. Some of you have been around for a while, and well, didn't we talk about that 20 years ago? But it's okay. I may be old-fashioned in my thinking, but I'm also ready to move to the next stage of solutions. Some of our earlier challenges have come and gone, thank goodness. And some of the problems, however, remain, and they're very sticky. And we still have much to do about raising salaries and benefits and career pathways and dealing with our turnover issues. So that we've got to figure out, right? And in solving these problems, we can't forget to stay true to our values and to keep our young people at the center of our work.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jane. So last January, I officially retired from Wellesley College. But because NIOST is primarily funded with external funds and soft money, and contracts and grants, I am still able to work, so you're not getting rid of me completely. I am able to continue working on some projects that mean a lot to me, including the work of the National Center for After-School and Summer Enrichment and CASE. So semi-retirement is the perfect solution for someone like me because I don't really have any hobbies. This is my work, day and night, all the time, 24/7. If anybody knows me, they know that if you email me at 2 in the morning, I'm going to answer. I'm just always on. And so I couldn't stop cold turkey, and so I'm fortunate. I can continue working with my amazing team at NIOST. Wave, wave. And I also want to say that, you know, collectively, this group of women, and we are all women, have done an amazing amount of work, and I'm very proud of being part of this organization. My circle of colleagues expands across the country as well, and here you are. I'm lucky to have met you. I'm lucky to have worked with you. And I'm very fortunate that you're here tonight to celebrate this, my honor. So fortunate to have made a 40-year plus career in a field that I love. And I hope for the next 10 people that you get to stick with it and love it as much as I have. So, Gina, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for putting together this leadership track. I have sat in on almost all of them, and they are fantastic. I don't know if people here have been able to take advantage of all of the leadership opportunities that have been going on in this conference, but you've done an outstanding job. I believe that, that even in these trying times, when the future of education and after school and youth development seems to be in such vulnerable places, our community of leaders will stand up to the needs of young people. We will do that. And the future of our movement. And I want you, again, to thank you very much for bringing us together. From my vantage point, looking out in this room, I'm very hopeful. So thank you again.
Ellen, it's so special to be able to share this with you, to hear your story, because in so many ways, your story is the story of our field. It is certainly very much the story of our association. And the great news is the story continues. So thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing us to honor you and honor your work. And thank you for not entirely going away yet. Thank you again to our next gens. I promise you, if you're still doing this work 40 years from now, we'll honor you too. We have plenty of time here to spend time with each other, get to know each other, and thank you for coming tonight. And we will look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow morning. We have another full day ahead of us. So enjoy your evening. Thank you.